we have estrogen that's unbalanced, how do we know? What are some of the symptoms? Do we feel differently, or how would someone know that?
If estrogen's out of balance, women know that. There really are two periods of a woman's life when they're more likely going to have estrogen out of balance. And the first is at puberty. And you can kind of tell from young girls. You know, my daughter, when she went into puberty, she was more estrogen dominant. And everybody that's got a teenage girl knows exactly what I'm talking about. So they get, you know, pretty yakety and they're kind of out of control. And that's, you know, the estrogen is stimulating the brain. It just gets overstimulated, and there's not a good balance there. Progesterone is the balance for estrogen. And early in puberty, you start making estrogens in spurts, and you don't make as much progesterone to balance it, because that's the calming hormone. That hits GABA receptors in the brain and has a calming effect in the brain. So you see that at puberty, and you see it again right at menopause, when the brain and the ovaries are miscommunicating at that point in time. And women tend to make too much estrogen at that time, but they make it in spurts. So there's this big increase in estrogen, and then it drops down. So they're going to have estrogen dominant symptoms and estrogen deficiency symptoms within a couple of days of each other. This is the perimenopause period, and it's age 45 to 55. And that's the period also where the excessive estrogen is associated with increased risk for fibroids, increased risk for overstimulation of the uterus. And so it's when women usually have to have a hysterectomy because they have bleeding problems. They